Hey, this is Nicolosi, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can remap MIDI messages using Mela. For example, you can adjust the velocity curve of note-on events, or you could take modular CC messages and map it to another, like foot control, for example, via a curve. Okay, let me show you the setup I have here. I'm running Logic Pro on my macOS, and I have two tracks here. First track has Mela MIDI inserted, which is the heart of the setup, and then followed by Mela inserted as an instrument on the same channel strip. And the second track's purpose is to receive output of Mela MIDI, and it's configured here using internal MIDI in setup. What this says is that it's basically receiving input that this Mela instrument is receiving. So basically, output of Mela MIDI will be captured by this track. Okay, I also have these two regions. First region is a modulation ramp, which is a modular or CC1 MIDI message, and it's simply a straight line. Now, this is a preset I have here, and I'm going to bypass MIDI source. For now, on a lane 1, we're receiving MIDI and then MIDI logger, so we can observe it. And on lane 2, I have a control change, which is set to CC1, and again logger, and the signal is being sent to the output. Now, if I play, so as you can see, we received a modular message, which looks like a straight line. And what we're going to do is we're going to map this once I enable a MIDI source module here. And what this does is that it's receiving its input source is set to modulation wheel, and it's modulating control changes value parameter. And because this is set to CC1 and this is also set to CC1, what's happening is basically whatever the input is, output is the same. So if I play it again, you will see MIDI loggers will show identical MIDI messages. As you can see, the messages are identical. So basically, we're taking a CC message, converting into a modulation signal, and then converting it back using the control change. Now, what we can do is we can adjust the curve here. We can make it logarithmic. So now it looks like this. So you see the output ramps up much faster. And it doesn't have to be logarithmic. It can be exponential, or it can be an S-curve, or a logit curve, or you can have something in between. If you adjust gain and bias parameters, you can get more custom curve. I can demonstrate this works because I can just record the output from Mela MIDI. So let's record this. Okay, so let's look at the modulation here. And as you can see, it does look similar to this curve. And it doesn't have to be a CC. I could have selected CC4, for example, and it would have mapped modulation wheel to foot control. Okay, now let's do a similar thing with velocities. So I have another region here. So if we look at it, you can see the note velocity is ramping up. And I have another preset here called velocity remap. And the setup is kind of similar, but we don't need two lanes in this case, because what's happening when the MIDI messages comes in, MIDI source's input source is set to velocity. So modulation signal is created based on the velocity of note events. And then I have another module, velocity, which has min and max dials, and it lets us clamp velocity to a specific range. But in this case, I've set both of them to 1, and I'm modulating both with 100% intensity. What that means is that it will map to one value. And with this setup, what will happen is that Actually, if we leave it like that with this configuration, velocity will basically remain the same. So if the velocity is 63, this will be set to 63 and nothing will change. But we can adjust the curve, obviously, like we did before, to get different shape. And let's use S-curve this time and maybe make a slight adjustment to the S-curve. And now let's see what happens to our velocities here. And again, I'm going to record. As you can see, the velocity curve matches the MIDI sources curve. So again, you can adjust them as you wish. And not just that, you may want to clamp velocities to range. Say you want the messages to be from 20 to 120 or something. So in that case, what you can do is you'll set this to 20, and then you'll have to adjust the intensity. So say 80%. So 80% of 127 is around 102. So the range now will be from 20 to 122. And it will again use this curve. And you may have to do a little math if you want to create this custom range. Basically, minimum is easy. You just have to compute the percentage you need to set to get the correct maximum that you need. But as you can see, it's quite simple to change velocity curve or remap CC messages. I do plan to make a dedicated module which will be able to do this. It will just be a single module, and it will have similar parameters to adjust min max value as well as the curve. But in the meantime, it's quite easy to build presets like this. Okay, that's all for now. Like and share if you found this useful. For any questions or feedback, leave a comment below. See you next time.